Okay, well, we're gonna get started, and everybody's hopefully got a snack, some water, and now it's your turn to be quiet so we can hear what they are gonna tell us. So I lost the president. He was standing there. Oh, he's right here. I couldn't see you. Okay, with that, I'll turn to Jacob Williams.
Hi guys, ladies, thanks so much for coming. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jacob. I'm your board president here in Somersett. I just wanted to provide a real quick welcome for everybody. Thank you for all coming. This is a huge project. A lot of us have been working on for quite some time. As far as introductions go, I'll just go through. We have Councilman Reese, which is also the commissioner on the RTC. Councilman Reese and I have been talking about this for a long time. He is also a resident of Somersett. And knows how important this project is, and has really been instrumental in getting this approved for us as we all watch our roads deteriorate daily. Carrie's with the city. Carrie Koski, thank you, Carrie. Thanks for being here. We have SNC Contracting, and then Scott Gibson is going to kind of the brainchild of this project, and he's going to do brainchild. Is that fine? I think it's pretty fitting. Yeah. And he's going to do our presentation today. As far as I know, presentation, there's going to be some times for questions, so please let them get through the presentation. Just appreciate the city and the RTC coming. Those of you who haven't seen the boards, they're really informative. I've learned a lot already today, so I just want to, you want to speak, Councilman? Yes. Yeah, okay. Thank you so much.
And thanks a lot to everyone who's here tonight. As Jacob said, I am a resident here, so that's the first hat of many that I'll wear tonight. But I also have the privilege of being the Reno City Council member at large, as well as one of 5 people who serves on the RTC, which is our Regional Transportation Commission. So my comments will be pretty brief. You've got some really intelligent and incredible folks up here. I've had the privilege of working with them on a number of projects over the years, but this one is sort of an important one to me because Jacob and I have been working on it for a long time. But it's also one of the projects that has taught me a lot about government, both the good parts about government and the bad parts of government. And when you're in the office that I'm in, you try to pick and choose and figure out which one of those is more aligned with what you're doing. And this is a good example of one that's really been collaborative, especially in the last 2 years. I think there's been a long time need for the project. Obviously, we drive on the roads, and you probably thought to yourself, gosh, this should have been done 5 or 7 years ago. But as in all things, sometimes things that we really want take a lot more time than what we had hoped for. And it really wasn't until Nancy and Jacob and Mark really said, hey, enough is enough. We got to figure this out. And there are some things that we both got to do better, that we were able to move this project along. And once we did that and put aside some of the issues that we, long-standing issues that people are pointing fingers at everybody and doing all sorts of things, it was real easy because RTC, who is one of the really the premier transportation agencies in this country, said, hey, we're behind you 100%. We'll make the opportunities available. We'll find the funding. And sometimes it's a matter of that. You got to find funding. So it's the confluence of getting people who are wanting to do a project. So that's that. Then you've got to have some political will behind it. Then you got to find the money, and then you've got to find the brains, and that's these 4 people. And so I'm going to turn it over to them now, and they'll lead you through what I think are some very illustrative photos. It's all pretty intuitive. You're all going to figure out that it's going to suck for about 2 months in different waves, but at the end of it, it's going to be fantastic. And you've got just the best contractor here locally on this project, and you've got engineers both at the RTC and the city of Reno who have taken all the time to really get to know our parkway and the needs of this community. So I'm going to turn it over to them now and just say thank you again. Great turnout for a project that's very important to me, and we're happy to be here tonight. Scott's going to lead us through this, I think.
Thank you, Commissioner. I get to call him Commissioner because he's my boss and on that thing. And then my other one, I'd like to also introduce the director of our agency, Bill Thomas, and then also Brian Martinez-Moles and Luke Chow, who are actually the brainchilds behind this thing. They work with Wood Rogers, our consultants, and they'll be doing the inspection as well as the design on this project. Anyhow, thank you all for coming today. This is the Somersett Parkway. We call it the 2024 Corrective Maintenance. It's kind of in between preventive maintenance and total rehab kind of things. We kind of keep some roads that often don't find the funding and the need. And so, but we have a niche at the RTC to try and capture those. The project scope on this, if you've seen the boards, phase one, we're going to be lowering the utilities. There's 102 manholes and 109 valves, and those all have to be jackhammered out and lowered down. And then we come through in phase two, where we resurface the roadway. We're going to mill off 3 inches and pave back 3 inches with new asphalt. And then phase three is coming up with raising those manholes back up and doing all the striping and other safety improvements that we're contemplating. So again, phase one, impact is going to be starts mid-August. It's going to take about 3 to 4 weeks while they lower those utilities. Won't be much impact, just spot areas. There'll be flaggers and traffic control to get people through stuff. And then we get into the actual road construction, phase 2A, where they'll start at Mayan and begin milling and filling, and the traffic will be counterclockwise going in and out. It'll just be on that throughout that phase of the project, and that should take 2 to 3 weeks. And then we turn around and get on the other side of the road, and the one-way detour changes in the other direction, and that's another 2 to 3 weeks of that. And then we get into phase three, where they're raising the utilities back up and doing the final striping. And again, that'll take another 3 to 4 weeks to get all of that activity done, but it'll have very little impact on you and traffic in that time. Now, this is going to be a major operation because they're going to be milling and filling at the same time, and they're going to be grinding off the roadway, loading up huge semis with that material, and then they're going to be hauling in fresh asphalt and running a paver on top of that. So there'll be a big paving train. And then the biggest thing is that there's 10 to 15 trucks continuously hauling in and out the whole time. And so we want to make sure for safety that we keep all of the traffic as separated from the construction zone as possible. And that's why we're taking one side of the road at a time and doing that one-way configuration. And that also helps us so these guys can get in, get out, and stay out. The fast, efficient operation. The other aspect of this project is to improve safety and visibility. We're going to be adding new reflective sheeting on directional signposts. I don't know where that little red stripe came from, but like on this entrance, on the yield signs, the one-way signs, and the roundabout circular things, we're going to be adding reflectorized sheeting so that the roundabouts are a little bit more visible. Adding more speed radar signs. I don't know, does that show? Good. I can't see that, but more speed radar signs. And then also more bases for speed radar signs so they can be moved around, because if you just set them in one place, after a while, nobody sees them anymore. And so if you move them, then that kind of refreshes that and helps keep speed down. And then we're going to be putting reflectors on curbs to the approaches to the roundabout, so that it's a little bit clearer and people can get the directional, get their turns, see that the roundabout's approaching and make that curvature right. And then when we get done, there'll be brand new crosswalk markings and road striping and highlighted medians and stuff with fresh paint. The other aspect of this is addressing some of the irrigation issues. We're going to be replacing the Reliance Landscape, and Rob and his guys are going to be replacing 1,600 sprinkler heads in the medians with these little rotator type sprinkler heads that are better to control and are less susceptible to being affected by wind. And so hopefully that'll improve some of that and keeping some of the overspray and that type of thing that has affected the surface of the pavement here. So total project estimate, $7.2 million all in. It's by our local indexed fuel tax funding. And at the end of the day, also construction will accommodate existing school bus stops and schedule. They'll be able to get there and pick up your kids on a regular schedule. The contractor will be working with the school district to make sure we know where that's at and when that needs to happen. And then emergency vehicles will have full access to the construction zone at any time. They'll just shut down operations and do whatever they need to do to stay out of the way in case of any kind of emergency. And with that, thank you very much. Again, my name is Scott Gibson. I'm the project manager. Happy to answer any questions. Reach out anytime. Claire Schreckenberger is the project manager for SNC, and Josh McKeechin is our public information officer. Again, you guys have got this great communication network that we get to take advantage of, distributing information about what's going on. We'll be providing weekly updates on traffic control. Theoretically, it shouldn't change a whole lot because it's going to be kind of we're trying to keep it as simple as possible. And again, phase 1, 3 to 4 weeks, phase 2, 6 weeks, and then phase 3, and hopefully we'll be done by the 1st of November.
Scott, did you answer the question about why they couldn't do two-way traffic on each side?
Those roadways they're very narrow. It's just easier and simpler and safer if we can keep, again, that traffic separated from the construction as well. There's cyclists, there's all kinds of other road users that there'd just be a little bit heightened risk for something bad happening on that. And so again, it's just a matter of time and we'll be in and out of there and everything will be back to normal. So
do you want to take questions here or do you want folks to go to the board? You want to take questions from here?
Happy to take some.
A few questions? Well. Okay, so a question in the back. Work hours, somebody shouted out.
7 to 7 is kind of our normal thing. It's going to be not night work or anything else like that, but probably starting at 7 in the morning. And these guys generally to get up and running at 7 in the morning, they've been up since 4 or 5. So they generally shut down 4-ish or so on that, but just regular work days, I think.
And not on weekends, is that correct?
Oh, that's correct.
And the road stays just the same direction, even though they're not working at night and weekends, correct?
Yep.
Okay, you have a question?
What anticipated completion date?
Early November.
Okay, another question.
Can you explain a little more about why you're lowering the utilities, raising the utilities? What's involved?
We're going to be milling off the top 3 inches of the pavement. And so all of that iron is encased in concrete and sets up at the surface. So you got to jackhammer all of that stuff out, lower it down and cover it, and then patch it. And then they come through with their equipment and they mill that all off. And then they got to go back and find it and raise it back up and pour new concrete collars around it.
Another question.
In areas where we have to go more than 3 inches, and this might be more for SNC, is this going to be a Wood Rogers find? Is there a contingency built in where we need to take out the sub base, get down?
Yeah, so if we come across it, we're going to evaluate on each situation.
Can we get you on mic so that it gets recorded on the Zoom?
Okay.
So as we come across those areas that we may get through that asphalt section, we're going to evaluate on a day-to-day basis with Wood Rogers, and then we'll decide what's the best case to move forward. Oftentimes we'll, deep lift it or make a full section there. I don't know what the requirement is, like 7 inches is the goal.
Are we 6 inches base, 4 inches asphalt?
Well, so we're just doing mill and overlay right now. So as we come across those areas, I don't think we'll necessarily need the base section, but we will probably, go ahead, Brian, if you want to.
Yeah, so there are a couple areas, like when you first come in off of Mayan there, years ago, there was a water main break. And so we are going to do a full dig out there to help get that back to how it should be. As we mill and fill this, our hope really is that we're just going to take 3 inches and be great. There's going to be something that we're going to get what's called delamination. There'll be something. We've worked that into the contract. It's already a part of that 7.2 million with some contingency items. which would be great because then our field inspectors and S&C, our engineers can look at it, we can make a determination, S&C gets to proceed. And that's really the only way that we can do that phase 2 in that compact duration is that we are all set up to go and that we will make our field decisions, do the right thing and move along.
Yeah, Wood Rogers, they'll have inspectors out there all the time evaluating that condition. And in terms of the thickness, it's 8 inches of asphalt in the 4-lane section, and then it's 5 inches on the 2-lane section. And again, the idea is to get all the way through that top 2-inch lift and into the next layer and start building back up from there.
Scott, can you address the bike lane discussion? I don't know if you've made a decision yet about what you're doing to widen the bike lane a little bit.
One of the things that we kept hearing about, because there's an abundance of multi-use paths around here, we had initially thought about leaving the lanes at 12-foot widths, and that's the same width as they are out there on I-80. And so you get, so drivers kind of perceive that they can go a lot faster than they should. And so we're looking at narrowing the striping, widening the bike lanes a little bit down to 10 and 11, which we do all over town. And that kind of provides a visual constraint, and hopefully it helps slow the traffic down, because again, we get a lot of the comments that have been, can you do anything to slow anybody down? How about some speed bumps and stuff? But so that's one strategy that we're looking at.
Can you talk a little bit about the surface? You're not using chip seal, are you?
No, but that's a good question. So
Can you repeat the question since he wasn't on mic?
I was just curious if you talk a little bit about the finished surface, because it's convenient sometimes to use chip seal, and I would hope that you don't make that decision.
Well, you're asking dangerous questions there, because I can go on and on about some of this stuff. But so we're milling off 3 inches of that asphalt, and you'll notice a lot of the potholes on there they're just kind of shallow. This surface stuff is coming off, and that's the preventive maintenance microsurfacing that we've had on there before. And we're trying to get through that and down into the meat of that. And so we're going to be paving it back with fresh hot mix. But in 3 years, we're going to come back and we're going to microsurface this roadway, which research from the University of Nevada has shown helps dramatically increase the performance life of these pavements. And so we'll start doing that preventive maintenance cycle first at 3 years and then every 7 years after that to keep things going.
Carrie, I have a question for you. Could you talk a little bit about the cost, what the SOA is paid, what RTC is paying, the maintenance, all the issues related to cost? You guys have invested in this for quite a while. Can you give us an overview of that, including maintenance?
Sure. So Carrie Koski, your Director of Public Works here at the City of Reno. We initially worked with the HOA very closely about the landscaping. And one of the things that we initially looked at was we're going to need to replace a bunch of the landscaping. I can say this, that your homeowners association is pretty impressive. They've done a lot of really good work with the landscapers. And then they have put a lot of effort forth. So the homeowners association is not paying a dime for any of this. We were able to do an analysis. Wood Rogers went through and did their analysis. The sprinklers are actually being paid for by the RTC. So that is a really good thing. We worked really hard with Nancy and the whole group, and I think that you all should be very proud of them. They were looking out after your best interests.
Okay, I didn't know you were going to say that, so that's fine. But also, thank you to Reliance. So Reliance under contract with you to replace all the sprinklers. You want to tell what that replacement does, somebody?
Yeah, again, replacing those heads should make that median overspray much more controllable, so they can control the range of the spray. And again, they've got an amazing system that's been constantly improved now that it determines what the humidity is, what the temperature is, when. So it's there's like 100 zones, and But in the medians, they're going to change all of those sprinkler heads so that there's, again, it should reduce the overspray on the pavement itself, be less susceptible to wind, and they can control it so it's more directed just where it needs to be to keep everything green.
I think we'd love for you to talk a little bit more about all the enhancements you added to the contract and also no cost to any resident. There's quite a few that weren't there that really came from a lot of meetings and feedback, not just the safety, but everything. If you want to just make sure you include all that extra drainage work at the intersection.
Again, the main thing was we were able to address a lot of the irrigation issues just with those heads and such, and hitting that specific intersection over by the Goddard School as well was something. And then again, working with the city and Cary, coming up with the safety improvements that we were looking at.
Talk a little bit. So one of the things that is one of our top priorities here at the city of Reno is safety, and especially pedestrian safety. But in this particular area, what we've looked at is like a pilot program where we're actually using the retroreflectivity of and what that is it's the material that you put around the signs. And we're trying out a new kind of a pilot. We did, I think, a couple of those up here, but in this particular project, we're going to put the retroreflectivity on each one of the posts. And I'm hoping that, I'm very respectful of the dark skies. That's very important. We don't want to light things up, over light things, but we've got to look at different ways to enhance safety. And one of the things that I hear often by some of you, maybe here in this room, is, how can we slow people down? One of the things we look at is by narrowing lanes. That has a tendency, just with the striping, it gives you the perception that you need to go slower. The retroreflectivity, crosswalks, the speed radars that Scott was talking about, that came out of one of our working group meetings up here. What we're looking at is across the city is putting in more speed radars just to give people that awareness that what speed are you going? And what we're finding is when they're up in the same place or the same location for over 3 months, people aren't even paying attention to them anymore. They just don't. So that's why we worked with the RTC and the designers, and we came up with some variable locations. I think the Homeowners Association, they were suggesting that maybe we use the trailers and that sort of thing. We have put a lot of effort and a lot of thought into incorporating things that will help with the safety.
Yeah, so we can rotate them into your neighborhood.
Yes.
So just let you know.
You all will get to see them.
Yes, go ahead, Caleb.
And this is a follow-on to your question.
Sure.
Are you increasing the number of alert strobe lights on the crosswalks?
The alert, also the flashing beacons around the crosswalks. I don't believe we had any additionals in here, and we're willing to listen to some feedback. That's what I would like to hear. Is there are locations that we missed? So maybe after we're done, if somebody wants to if you want to come and talk to us, if there's specific locations that you feel that need some additional safety attention, I'd like to hear about it.
Okay, we have a question here. You pass that down. But you have to give it back.
At the entrance of Somersett,
yes,
at the end of the center, where we have all the plants and everything, every year in the winter, it waters, it continues to come down.
Yes.
And next thing we know, it's ice.
Yes.
And I'm just curious if you guys are working on correcting that problem too.
Yes, we're going to have to shut the road down for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Maybe Rob can talk about his watering plan.
Down at the end of the entrance where you're talking about past the guard check. So if most of you probably noticed, we tore all the landscape out in the last week. So the erosion and the main problems that were going on with that road had a lot to do with the color beds or the water that was coming off that was from the flowers. So the SOA actually stepped up and they paid to convert all of that. We pulled all those flowers out, we put perennials in there. So you're gonna get a lot less saturation. Now during the winter, when you see the ice that comes across there, that doesn't have anything to do with any irrigation or any of that. What happens is from the cut, basically roundabout one all the way down, all the saturation and all the moisture that comes down along the gutters, and it has nowhere to go but divert across towards the fire station across the road. You're gonna have ice there no matter what they do. There's nothing they can do to change that other than put drains in. There is a drain there. The drain works, it operates great. I watch water come down the gutter and drain into there on a regular basis. But you still have a large area where the water is gonna run off and it's gonna cross the road. You have freeze and thaw, and it's gonna freeze. So as most of you know, watch your speeds when you're driving around out here. It's gonna freeze at night and there's nothing they can do to help that.
We really want to put another sign there that talks about ice, go slow. We have a question. Oh, yeah, I'll come back. Yeah, okay, no, we have to answer more. I'll be back to you. Okay. Come on down.
Yeah, just to follow up on that question about the icing during the winter on the curve where the cut comes down. So we will be adding with this project a solar flashing icy sign to help alert maybe those who don't drive it every day and aren't aware. And so that will be a part of the project, another safety measure.
I'm so excited that you found that. That was my little pet request. Okay. One less text to send out. Slow down, Icy. Okay.
I really in Somersett was the view. And the view has two entrances. The front entrance goes out to Somerset Parkway, but there's a back entrance that could get somebody down to Delred Parkway, totally avoiding Somerset Parkway. But there's a fence that's blocking it off most of the time. Can that fence be opened during this project?
Yeah, we're going to open that gate so that the people can go out through back 9, and we'll let the neighborhoods know. What we'd love to know from community is if they think there's another gate we should also do that with. We don't want too much cutting around, but that's one particular one that actually is helpful. More questions? Sure.
The 3-inch of asphalt that you're going to mill off, are you able to reuse that or recycle it?
Oh, that's a great question. So these guys are going to haul it back and then they're going to sell it back to us. That's pretty true. There's a huge recycle pile. RAP is what that's called, recycled asphalt pavement. And the asphalt guys like to say that's the most recycled material in the world. And our mix design methodologies allow up to 15% of that into our mixes. And so all of our mixes kind of have a portion of that, and they have a big pile that has to be analyzed and reworked to get that to fit into our mixes and meet the requirements of that.
So it's 15% that you put back
of the aggregate by weight, yeah.
And then what happens?
It gets that, again, there is a big demand for that. It's shouldering material, it's all kinds of stuff. So it goes into mixes all over the state. Yeah, or all over the north part of the state.
If there's not any other questions.
There's another question.
Okay. All right, well, this is a little bit longer. Okay, yes.
Currently, Mondays, Waste Management picks up our barrels. And on days that they pick up the recycling also. It seems like they start at 8 in the morning and they're still picking barrels up late in the afternoon. With the delays that will probably happen on Mondays, have you contacted Waste Management to see if they're going to probably have to extend their pickups till Tuesday?
So we'll coordinate with them directly and see how they want to actually come out there. They'll probably want to stick to the Monday schedule, but we'll make sure we prioritize getting them through the job site and make sure they have access, whereas maybe you guys wouldn't have the full access. We'll try to get trash trucks in there.
What I want to do is if they're going to have Monday, Tuesday instead of Mondays like we're used to, we need coordination with them.
Yeah, so if they come up with any solution that's alternative to Monday, we'll definitely let Scott and the team know so they can coordinate with you guys to know when to put it.
Maybe just to add to that too, once we get traffic, and part of the process was talking to you all and getting your feedback and getting you guys engaged with our configuration. We will take all of these boards, this traffic control, We will send that to Renza, City of Reno Fire, City of Reno Police, School District, Waste Management, all the businesses and services that need access in. We give them a heads up. We tell them exactly what we're going to be in and when, no different than we're telling you guys when we're going to be closing things to make sure that they can plan accordingly. But it's a great question.
And we can notify folks now with the new website by neighborhood. So it's possible, the other day Waste Management had an issue at Cliffs. We're able to just target our response to a couple people or a whole street. So if there's any changes, we'll let you know. It doesn't mean that it's not happening, but it might not be affecting you. So you might not get a notification. Okay, more questions?
Yeah, I got one over here. This may be a silly question, but do we get any kind of like understanding or warranty about not expecting any more bad potholes happening in the near, how long? I mean, is this something that we should, for 3 years, not see another pothole?
You get 1 year.
Oh, it's a 1 year warranty. That's what I needed to know. I mean, this is going to be kind of a painful process, and I understand we have to do it. But is all this, engineering and stuff to try and prevent us from having any pothole issues?
Yeah, and again, we're gonna mill off these 3 inches and come back, and the underlying pavement is actually in pretty good shape. A lot of the stuff that you're seeing is just it's surface deterioration from those preventive maintenance treatments that we've done over the years in the past. And so it's going to be a very nice new road for a little while, and then in 3 years, we're going to come back and start doing our preventive maintenance cycle that again really helps extend the life of the pavement. And if there are material issues and that type of thing, those generally show up within the first year, and these guys will be on the hook. And SNC is great about coming back and fixing things and making things right. So
this is about once every 23 years or so. So hopefully. Okay, well, if there's not any other question, there's a couple more. We'll do a couple more questions, but I do want, sorry, Councilmember, they are going to be here for a little bit to answer questions. So you'll be able to get your questions answered one-on-one here or in the other room. And they have snacks and water and things like that. So you can mill around for a little bit. No pun intended there. So
not a question, but could you please repeat the how many weeks each phase will take?
Repeat the schedule? Okay.
The target end date is the early November, but each phase, the first phase, which is not going to be impactful, should be 3 to 4 weeks. The second phase, which is going one direction, should be 6 weeks overall, 4 to 6 weeks. And then the final phase will be another 3 to 4 weeks. And to get everything get everything raised up and all striped and all of that.
And the total weeks going one direction or the other is about 4 to 6, 4 to 5.
Yeah, again,
somewhere between 4 and 6.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, one more question.
Are you doing the roundabouts complete during the first or the second phase?
I think we're doing half at a time.
Okay, well, we want to just thank everybody for coming, and I really appreciate working with, we have one more important question.
This question's for Devin, so I'm glad you got up to speak. I love to see that you're dedicating your time and energy to a project that directly affects you as a Somersett resident. And I'm curious to know when you're going to dedicate the same time and energy to other safety issues that affect everyone in our community, such as the erosion of the Cliffs hillsides, instead of turning a blind eye to the home builders' flagrant code violations and refusing to enforce them.
Yeah, thanks. We're kind enough to come to our town hall that we had about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. Look, so a couple of things. One is that your homeowners association has done a tremendous job. They really deserve a lot of credit for this project, and I'm going to speak about that in a second. The Cliffs is a whole nother thing, and again, something that the HOA is working on, and we're working on at City Hall. So happy to meet with you anytime you want to meet with that. I've met with the Cliffs homeowners individually. We've had town halls, we've done all that. So it's really beyond the scope tonight to really spend a lot of time on it, but I appreciate your question. It's very kind of you to ask it. What I will say is that this community is, it's a big community. There's a lot of residents. Some residents are very passionate about schools. Some people are passionate about trails. Everybody knows that what they want are safe roads, right? And so potholes don't really care if you're a Republican or a Democrat or independent. They just want to get filled, right? And so at the end of the day, this is a great project as a result of that. But I will say too, and this was really going to be my closing remarks, is when Jacob and I started working on this project, Nancy as well, I think you can remember that we looked at it, and originally there was like this whole concern that the HOA was going to have to spend, $1.5 million or $2 million. And God, that seemed crazy to me that that was going to be the cost that we're going to be borne. And through the leadership of Jacob and Nancy and work on RTC, we were able to avoid all those costs, right? We were able to build them into the contract because at the end of the day, although the road condition was adversely affected in some ways by some of the water issues, we really were still trying to address the same issue that happens in any neighborhood, right? That is that the roads deteriorated, they had to be replaced. So a lot of thanks go to Nancy and Jacob and the team for really working through those hard issues, because I think this has been a unique project, and I started with this and I'll end with the same thing. In every project, what you're really thinking about is the way in which, how does government impact us? Because every day it doesn't, but in some of the most basic ways it does, and you want to find the best of all of those things, the best that government can do, and this is a good example of that. RTC is a fantastic organization. They have done a great job. Wood Rogers did all of the work up to really get us the engineering specs to get to this moment. SNC have done incredible projects throughout. So you really have the A team of people working on it. And when you combine the A team that you have here in the HOA with the A team and all these other organizations, you're really going to be, I think, excited. I will say there was one detail that didn't make a lot of sense to me, and I'll just clarify. The phasing, and pay attention to the signs when you go on to the next room to look at it. The phasing is really important because in the first phase, probably no one is really impacted by it. Yeah, it's irritating and you got to go slow around flaggers, but you can come and go, right? That second phase, 2A and 2B, are going to be where you're all really not happy. And that phase is really the middle chunk, and it really starts in the end of September, goes hopefully to the end of October. The last phase, where they're raising again and doing striping and what we'll call punch list items, again, I don't think anyone will be particularly inconvenienced by it. It's going to be that middle period of time, which we hope will be done right around the end of October. And again, they don't want me to tell you what the dates are because they move around. I've also been told, and this may be helpful to some, that as they finish sections, it is possible that then some of those sections will be opened along the way. And I see Dan being very gracious to say that. So you might be at the very front of Somerset, or maybe at the very back of the Parkway, and parts will open sooner than you had thought. And so you can all be hoping that you're at one of those. I'm right in the dead middle, so I'm kind of screwed, but hopefully you'll all not have to experience that. And again, we're going to be here for about another, I don't know, what's that, 45 minutes or so. The design work is here on the boards and out in the other room, and the individual site work experts are here and can answer very specific questions for you. But again, I want to thank you all for coming out. Jacob will let him close out, but thanks a lot for allowing the City of Reno and RTC to partner with you all as a community.
Thanks, Devin. I just want to close it out by saying there isn't a single thing that our homeowners association asked for that we didn't get. And I think that deserves a round of applause to these folks for getting it. Every single thing we brought to them was thought upon, was research, which is diagnosed. I mean, everything from our landscape changes that we are participating in and making changes. A lot of stuff outside of the box, the crosswalks, the flashers, the speed signs, which I wasn't even aware of until tonight. The fact that we can move them, which is something we've been asking for a long period of time. So I know it's easy to think this is all just what normally happens, but I think we're very unique, and I'm super proud. So thank you all. Much love. Appreciate everybody. We'll close it out on that. Thank you.
They have questions and answers at the board.